In this video, we're going to further refine our corridor by assigning our targets and by setting the frequency of our assemblies inside of our corridor. In order to do that, we're going to navigate over to the Prospector tab. We're going to go down to our Dev Core. We're going to right click and we're going to go to Properties. Inside of Properties, we're going to go into Parameters, and this is where we have our baseline and region sections. So inside of our baseline and region sections, if we go and we select Set All Targets, inside of here, it has all of the targets associated with certain sections inside of our corridor. So we have the dev core and assembly names. I don't prefer to do it at all in one shot because I don't want to accidentally set the wrong target. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to set my baselines one at a time. So I'm going to go to my baseline for my main corridor, not the cul-de-sac. I'm going to go over to my targets and I'm going to click the ellipses associated with my dev core dev target. I'm going to set my target surfaces as EG. I'm going to set my width or offset targets as my offset alignments. And so as you can see, my transition alignment is set to right. So what I need to make sure I'm doing is selecting my dev align right and clicking add and then clicking OK. And then same thing here for my left. I need to make sure I'm choosing my dev align left and clicking add and clicking OK. Moving on to slope and elevation targets, we have our basic lane transitions for right. So I'm going to go ahead and set my right to my dev align right and click OK. And then I'm going to select my left, drop down, dev align left, add, and click OK. So I've now set all of my targets for my dev core dev target region. Now I'm going to move on to my baseline for my cul-de-sac, and I'm going to set my targets. And so my surface targets are going to be EG. My width and offset targets are going to be, this is going to be interesting because we are going to be targeting the dev alignment because the dev alignment is in the center of that corridor or in the center of that cul-de-sac. So I'm going to select dev align, I'm going to select add, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then for my slope or elevation targets, I'm going to go ahead and select my dev align profile, and I'm going to select my dev align profile and click add, and then I'm going to click OK. And so then I'm going to finally click OK to accept all of those targets. Now I'm going to move into frequencies. So inside of my frequencies for my main baseline, I'm going to select the ellipses here, and I'm going to leave my tangent sections the same. I don't have spirals, so I don't need to modify that. And then my vertical baseline, I could modify that, but I'm going to go ahead and leave that the same. The only one that I'm interested in changing is my curve increments. I'm going to change my curve increments to 5 because we have some relatively tight curves, and I want to capture those curves as well defined as I can. So I'm going to go ahead and set it as 5 and click OK. And then I'm going to go to my cul-de-sac and I'm going to set my curve increment to 5 as well. And I'm going to click OK. And when I'm done with that, you're going to see that both of my regions are out of date. So I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. Civil 3D is going to ask me to rebuild the corridor. I'm going to rebuild it and I'm going to click OK. And when we click OK, what you'll notice is that our corridor is now created with a very well-defined cul-de-sac end, and every corner that we go to is now using the targets for the offset widths that we defined, and our slopes are targeting our surface. So if I go and I click on this corridor now, and I go to the object viewer, when you look at the object viewer, you are going to notice that this corridor is much more refined than the last one that we looked at. You're going to see that we have sidewalks that have well-defined curves coming around the corners. The transitions are well encapsulated. You can see some grading going to the daylight of the existing surface. And then when we move into the cul-de-sac, instead of having that jagged angular cul-de-sac, because we changed to 5-foot increments, we now have this well-defined circular cul-de-sac that is correctly targeting the centerline profile of our dev alignment going along the curb line as we hoped it would.